Hey guys, how you doing? So this whole idea of marriage and divorce has been running through my mind for quite a while, and I just wanted to put it out there. A reason to marry seems to be quite clear for women, not for men, but the reason for divorce varies, and that's what I want to talk about. Before I get started, I'm excluding divorce due to any form of cruelty. I'm talking about real cruelty such as rape and getting beaten in black and blue every single day, not about cruelty because a woman is asked to cook or look after her fucking financial needs. So let's get started, shall we? So we start off with Briffault's law, which states the female, not the male, determines all the conditions of the animal family. Where the female can derive no benefit from association with the male, no such association takes place. To put it simply, in order for a pair bond to be formed, a woman looks to derive benefit from the male she intends to bond with. If there is no benefit to be received, the bond does not take place. In one word, hypergamy. Now this gain can be either financial, social, or any other sort. It could be the fact that she feels protected. Benefits can be of any nature, of course, but the most common are obviously financial and social gain. In the Stickman Weekly, he adds three corollaries. The first one being, past benefit provided by the male does not provide for continued or future association, which rings completely true when what a man has done for her in the past does not really matter. What matters is how he continues to benefit from her. Just one bit to add to this though. The benefits she receives should be of the same measure or greater with the passage of time. To explain that as simple as possible, if they live in a two-bedroom house, the next house they move to has to be a two-bedroom or a three-bedroom house. Anything below that would not be a continuous benefit of the same degree, and thus possibly a reason for the woman to break up that particular relationship, so a divorce. The second, any agreement where the male provides a current benefit in return for a promise of future association is null and void as soon as the male has provided the benefit. Well, that's fairly simple and easy to understand. Any promise made by the female in return for a benefit from the male ends up in the trash, or she completely forgets about it once she has received said benefit from the male. And the third and final one, a promise of future benefit has limited influence on current or future association, with the influence inversely proportionate to the length of time until the benefit will be given and directly proportionate to the degree to which the female trusts the male, which is not bloody likely. Amen to that, man. Amen to that. Now, most women don't trust men to fulfill their needs in the future. They prefer the then and now. Well, there are some who wait it out, of course. You know what? I think we should start hiring them as scouts. They do a better job, I guess. Anyway, they will opt for one that is willing to fulfill her needs in the present and not one that promises of a future benefit. And in most cases, they will analyze the promise made to see how viable it is. Whether she stays or leaves depends on the probability of the benefit coming her way and the size of that benefit. All this is fairly easy to understand, but a bit difficult to digest for a blue pill. Now, that's pretty much my understanding and what I take from the law, but I do want to talk a bit further. Now, most women like to counter this law by saying that it is not his money she was interested in, but his charm, his humor, his intelligence, and so on and so forth. Now, I consider this as utter fucking bullshit, and here's why. Now, for example, when a woman marries a billionaire she's not attracted to, and you can say, and probably she will say too, that she married for money. And now let's take the case of another woman who says that she married someone who she found funny and handsome and had a chemistry with. See, here's the thing. Before she went and started a relationship with him, she screened out every person below a certain educational threshold, every person with a dead-end career, everyone who made below a certain annual salary, and probably every single person who was less ambitious than she would have liked. So even though she may have made her final decision based on things other than money, money still played a major role in her screening process because, well, she never allowed poor people or people poorer than her to join the pool of potential suitors. Also, if you screen people based on probability of future earning potential. They may not be making money now, but there is a high likelihood they will in the future. Again, this usually doesn't happen, but there are cases where it does. It's still a form of marrying for money. I mean, if you ask the women doing it, they'd say they weren't marrying for money. They were marrying for love. They were marrying for humor, his quick wit, his fucking, I don't know what the fuck else. But you know what? Many people only consider marrying for money only if money is the only reason they're marrying someone and the person is already rich. Now, that is not entirely true. Anyway, now, while Briffault's law is universal, there are few factors which affect the outcome, as in the outcome of splitting that association after it has been made. I'm talking about the three corollaries, of course. Now, culture across different parts of the world, for instance. Throughout the Western world, the divorce rate is somewhere around the region of 50%. In India, though, the divorce rates are fairly low for now, around 13 out of 1,000 as per the last statistics I've seen. That's 1.3%. Now, let me know if anyone has actually seen any of the statistics for India. The difference in divorce rate, I believe, is possibly connected with the culture in India. Now, bear with me. Let me just take it from the top, okay? So, a woman marries to increase her status, financial or social, or sometimes both, and continues the association as long as it continues to be of benefit to her. A man, when he marries, increases his social status while decreasing his financial status. Now, if this law was universal without cultural factors affecting it, divorce rates would be similar across different cultures. Now, to be precise, India has a stigma attached to divorce, and that's why I believe it's fairly different, like a lot of countries with a low divorce rate. Now, I kept wondering how this stigma came to me, because it seems like the stigma of divorce that is attached to women is more harmful to them than it is beneficial. Now, in my mind, marriage in the olden days always benefited women, well, because they would not take the association or make the association otherwise. So, would the stigma possibly have been a method to keep men from not leaving their wives, along with obviously a lifelong marriage contract? My theory is that the stigma of divorce was at first created or came forth or was given birth to keep men in check. And as a spandrel or as a byproduct, it affected women as well. By spandrel is something that could not be avoided. If one was to exist, the other had to as well as a byproduct. Now, spandrel is a word most commonly used in architecture until it was brought into evolutionary biology by a paleontologist, Stephen Jay Gould, and a geneticist, Richard Levinton, to apply to secondary byproducts of adaptations that were not adaptive in themselves. So, if you wanted to have two arches, a triangular shape would be formed in between them. Now, the triangle was a byproduct of two arches next to each other. So, it is the same for the case of nipples in males. Male nipples have no particular use per se, and it is a wide consensus that they could be spandrels of the nipples in females who need them to breastfeed. The reason I say stigma was intended for men is that before alimony laws came into play, men could have easily left their wives after a certain age, and let's say a certain age, I would say, past the age to bear children, and they could have gone for a much younger woman if it did not affect men's social status. The only loser there would be the women, because no man would be ready to look after her if she was past the age to bear children. This stigma would have passed on as a byproduct to divorced women. So I would say that a stigma for divorced women would have been a byproduct of the stigma attached to men, or a spandrel. So anyway, this stigma is what I believe is a major factor in the difference in the divorce rates between different cultures, along with a few other factors such as loss, of course. Now, the stigma affects a person's social status, and human beings, being social creatures, usually avoid a decline in social status. Like I said before, I'm excluding divorce due to cruelty. Anyway, I've also read articles which say that women take divorce better and that they're usually happier after divorce. Well, if you look at what happens after a divorce, a man in a lot of countries loses half his shit and ends up paying a monthly maintenance to the woman and child support for kid that he can't see. Now, in India, a man has to just probably pay maintenance and child support. They also end up losing custody of their kids and sometimes even visitation rights. Now, when it comes down to the simplest form, after divorce, a man's financial status is more often than not worse than him in a marriage, and his social status diminishes as well. So it's a loss for a man. Women, however, are entitled to maintenance, and thus their financial status does not change dramatically. If anything else, she has the benefit of getting money without any reciprocity towards the husband. The social status is something that usually changes for both, of course. In a lot of countries, a divorcee status remains the same as it was when she was married. In India, though, both their social status declines once they have divorced. Now, a man has less social as well as financial status after divorce, and the woman has the same or better financial status with a reduced social status. Now, as the stigma dissipates in India, the divorce rates will skyrocket and will be the same as in the US, UK, and Australia, or across the Western world. Now, so the reason for the low divorce rate in India has nothing to do with traditional and loyal women. No, it has nothing to do with it. Okay, Indian women are as entitled, if not more entitled, than Western women. The divorce rate is low because it has everything to do with the stigma attached to divorce. If the social stigma did not exist, I have no doubt that the divorce rates would be the same across cultures. And a minor detail, I'm talking about comparing people in the same social status. Like, for example, very few women would actually divorce their husband in areas of low poverty level, because then she would not have any other way to sustain herself, considering the man also is below poverty level. At least if the man's there, she gets something to eat. Now, so once the government becomes a welfare state, though, like the US, those women would start doing the same too. Make no mistake, the stigma in India is disappearing at a fast pace. The divorce rate is going to increase, and I have no doubt about it. And there seems to be plans already in place to assist single, divorced, and widowed women in poverty-stricken areas, or in general, with the help of policies like National Policy for Women, which I've spoken about before. Also, there are drafts for subsidies in taxes for divorced women, for single women as well, as single mothers and widowed women. Looks like everything is in place. I think people are just waiting for the stigma to disappear. I think the increase in domestic violence cases, or the increasing in false domestic violence cases, is also possibly a way to avoid this stigma. Because if you portray yourself as a victim of assault or domestic violence, then that stigma kind of disappears, because you're the victim. You've got some kind of sympathy from the public, and people don't see you as a divorcee, but as a battered woman. Now, anyway, I give it 10 years, or to be safe, 15 years. The divorce rates in India will be neck and neck with the rates in Western countries. And before I go, I've heard about women sticking with their husbands after they've become disabled or bedridden with severe illness, and several other really hard scenarios. I don't think these women actually gain anything from the men in these circumstances. It could be possibly that their social status would be absolutely destroyed if she left him after he almost gave his entire life to feed her. Now, I'm not entirely sure about this, so it could be an exception to the rule. I'm not coming to a conclusion in this particular case because I'm not entirely sure myself. There is a possibility that social status actually plays a minor part, if not a major part, in this particular scenario, but I'm not going to make any conclusions because I am really not sure. Anyway, that's about it for today, guys. Leave your comments below, subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, guys.